Shattered promises the January air bit at Olivia Winter's cheeks as she stood on the balcony of the Harrington Hotel, clutching her champagne flute with white knuckles. Inside the engagement party, her engagement party continued without her. Music and laughter filtered through the glass doors, a cruel symphony accompanying the shattering of her world. "You shouldn't be out here alone," a voice called from behind her. Olivia quickly wiped away an errant tear. "I needed some air, Mrs. Blake." Evelyn Blake, soon to be her mother-in-law, stepped forward with the practiced grace of old money. Her Louboutins clicked against the marble balcony floor. "I think we both know this has gone far enough, dear. Excuse me?" Olivia turned, confusion creasing her brow. "This... arrangement between you and Jonathan." Evelyn gestured vaguely with her manicured hand. It was charming at first, I admit. The talented young designer from the community college, catching my son's eye. But marriage? Into the Blake family? Surely you understand how impossible that would be. The words landed like slaps. "Jonathan and I have been together for 2 years. He proposed to me. In a moment of rebellion, perhaps, but the Blakes have maintained certain standards for generations. Jonathan will inherit control of Blake Industries next year. His wife must bring connections, refinement, pedigree." Evelyn's gaze swept over Olivia's simple emerald dress, the one she'd designed and sewn herself, pouring weeks of love into every stitch. "Have you discussed this with Jonathan?" Olivia fought to keep her voice steady. Evelyn's smile was thin. "As a paper cut, he agrees. Simply didn't have the heart to tell you himself." As if summoned, Jonathan appeared at the doorway, his tall frame silhouetted against the warm light from inside. His father, Richard Blake, stood beside him, hand firmly gripping his son's shoulder. "Olivia," Jonathan said, his voice hollow. "I'm sorry. We need to talk." What followed was a blur of rehearsed apologies and weak explanations. Words like family expectations and practical considerations swirled around her while Olivia stood, perfectly still, feeling as though she were watching someone else's life collapse. "The ring, please," Richard Blake finally said, extending his hand. Olivia looked at Jonathan, searching for any sign of the man who had whispered promises of forever under tangled sheets, who had sworn he didn't care about her background, who had claimed to love her creative spirit and independent mind. But his eyes were fixed on the floor, his jaw set in resignation. With trembling fingers, Olivia slipped the 3-carat diamond from her finger. The weight of it had never felt right, anyway too ostentatious for her simple tastes. She placed it in Richard's palm without a word. "We'll handle the announcements," Evelyn said, her tone suggesting she was doing Olivia a favor. "Naturally, we'll compensate any vendors you've already paid for the wedding." "How generous," Olivia replied, finding her voice at last. "What's the going rate for public humiliation these days?" Jonathan flinched. "Liv, please don't." She raised a hand, stopping him. "At least have the decency to let me leave with my dignity." Across the ballroom, through the open doors, Olivia noticed a tall man in a charcoal suit observing the scene, his expression unreadable. She'd been introduced to him earlier, Dominic Reyes, some business associate of the Blakes. Like the others in the glittering crowd, he wasn't pretending not to watch her world collapse. "I should go," Olivia said, straightening her spine. "Congratulations on your successful intervention."
Whatever blooded alternative you select for.
"Jonathan makes you all very happy." She walked past them, head high despite the tears threatening to spill. As she crossed the ballroom, whispers followed her like shadows. The golden girl of Jonathan Blake, suddenly tarnished and dismissed. She felt dozens of eyes on her back, including, she was certain, those of the observant Mr. Reyes. Outside, the valet brought her modest Honda. As she slipped behind the wheel, the first sob broke free from her chest. She allowed herself exactly 1 minute of breakdown before wiping her eyes, adjusting her rearview mirror, and driving away from the Harrington Hotel. She would not give them the satisfaction of her complete devastation. Tomorrow she would begin rebuilding. Tonight, she would simply survive. What Olivia couldn't know as she drove into the snowy night was that Dominic Reyes was already forming a Plan 1 that would change both their lives irrevocably. Pride in the Ashes, the boutique design studio Olivia had poured her heart into for 3 years, felt hollow now. A week after the catastrophe at the Harrington, she sat alone at her drafting table, staring at the wedding dress sketches she couldn't bring herself to throw away. Her phone buzzed again, another call from Jonathan that she would ignore. Ms. Winters. Her assistant Penelope appeared in the doorway. There's someone here to see you. Says he doesn't have an appointment, but he's quite... insistent. Olivia sighed. If it's Jonathan, it's not, came a deep voice as Dominic Reyes stepped into view behind Penelope. He wore a simple navy suit that somehow looked more authentic than Jonathan's tailored Italian ensembles ever had. Though I understand your hesitation, Olivia straightened, instantly recognizing him from the engagement party. An unexpected surprise. I apologize for arriving unannounced. His eyes swept over the studio with genuine interest. Your work is impressive. Around them, mannequins displayed Olivia's designs, elegant dresses that blended structural boldness with feminine softness. Her signature style that Jonathan's mother had once dismissively called interesting. Thank you, but I doubt you came to discuss fashion. Olivia gestured to a chair. Please sit. Penelope, would you mind bringing us some coffee? When they were alone, Dominic leaned forward. I wanted to see how you were doing after... everything. Did Jonathan send you? The ice in her voice could have frozen the sun. No. Dominic's expression hardened slightly. I don't run errands. For the Blake family, quite the opposite. Our business relationship is mutually beneficial, but not particularly warm. Then why are you here? Curiosity about the woman who wasn't good enough for the Blake dynasty. Olivia couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. Dominic studied her for a moment. Actually, I came because I was impressed. Impressed? She laughed humorlessly. By what? My public humiliation. By your dignity, he corrected. The Blakes excel at reducing people to their utility. I've seen CEOs of Fortune 500 companies crumble under Richard Blake's dismissal. You walked away with your head high. Penelope returned with coffee, giving Olivia a moment to compose herself. When the door closed again, she asked, Is this some kind of pity visit, then? I don't do pity, Ms. Winters. Dominic sipped his coffee. I do recognize talent, however. These designs. He gestured to a sketch on her desk, a commercial space she'd been dreaming up. They show a remarkable understanding of how space affects emotion. Olivia tilted her head, genuinely surprised. Few people noticed her architectural sketches among her fashion designs. You have an eye for structure. I should hope so. Company Reyes Architectural Solutions specializes in innovative commercial spaces. He placed a business card on her desk. We're launching a new hospitality division, creating boutique hotels that feel both luxurious and authentic. Your aesthetic would be... valuable. The implication hung in the air for a moment before Olivia understood. Are you offering me a job, Mr. Reyes? I'm offering you an opportunity. Your fashion designs show an intuitive understanding of how forms influence feeling. It translates perfectly to architectural spaces. I have no formal training in architecture, she pointed out. Neither did I initially. I was a contractor who learned design through experience. His eyes met hers directly. Sometimes traditional paths exclude the most innovative thinkers. The pointed reference to her rejection by the Blakes wasn't lost on Olivia. Why would you take a chance on me? Because taking calculated risks on underestimated talent is how I built my company. He stood, straightening his jacket. The position is design consultant for our boutique hotel initiative. The salary is competitive. Your role would involve conceptualizing spaces that tell a story, something you clearly excel at. Olivia remained seated, suspicious of sudden kindness after such betrayal. And this has nothing to do with your relationship with the Blakes? A smile, almost wolfish, crossed Dominic's face. Not. On the contrary, Richard Blake has been trying to acquire my company for years. I've refused every offer. Hiring you would be an interesting negotiating tactic, so I'd be a pawn in your business chess match. Olivia stood now too, her pride flaring. No, you'd be a talented designer getting the opportunity you deserve. He moved toward the door. The fact that it might irritate Richard Blake is merely a pleasant side effect. Despite herself, Olivia felt a smile tugging at her lips. At least you're honest about your motives. Always. He paused at the threshold. The job offer stands. Regardless of your connection to the Blakes, your talent is the only relevant factor. Think about it. After he left, Olivia sank back into her chair, turning his business card between her fingers. Her phone buzzed again with another call from Jonathan. She declined it and instead opened her laptop to research Dominic Reyes. What she found was impressive. A self-made success story who'd built his architectural firm from nothing. Unlike the old money Blakes, Reyes had grown up in foster care, worked construction to pay for night classes, and leveraged his practical knowledge into innovative designs that were revolutionizing commercial spaces. Later that evening, as Olivia walked through her apartment, the one she'd planned to leave for, Jonathan's penthouse, her eyes fell on the pile of wedding magazines she still hadn't thrown away. With sudden resolve, she swept them into a garbage bag. Then she reached for her sketchbook and began drawing a new concept, a hotel lobby that felt like coming home at midnight. She sent an email to the address on Dominic's card. Mr. Reyes, I'm interested in discussing your opportunity further. When can we meet? Olivia Winters. His reply came almost immediately. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. And Ms. Winters. Bring those hotel lobby sketches I suspect you're working on right now? Olivia stared at the screen, wondering how he had guessed exactly what she was doing. For the first time in days, something like hope flickered in her chestnut for romance, but for a future built on her own terms. Future where being not good enough for the Blakes might be the best thing that ever happened to her? Unexpected beginnings, the headquarters of Reyes Architectural Solutions occupied the top 3 floors of a converted warehouse in the city's revitalized industrial district. Unlike the gleaming glass towers of Blake Industries, Dominic's building retained its original brick exterior, the only modern touch being the sleek sign at the entrance. Olivia arrived 15 minutes early, portfolio clutched to her chest. The receptionist, a young man with vibrant blue hair, greeted her with unexpected warmth. Miss Winters, Mr. Reyes said to send you straight up. He handed her a security badge. 14th floor. The elevator knows where to go. The elevator opened directly into a sprawling design studio. Floored 2 ceiling windows flooded the space, with natural light illuminating workstations where designers bent over drafting tables or worked at large monitors. Unlike the sterile perfection of Blake Industries, this space hummed with creative energy. Music played softly in one corner. A group debated energetically over a 3D model in another. It's quite different from what you're used to, I imagine. Olivia turned to find Dominic approaching, dressed more casually than their previous meeting, in dark jeans and a charcoal sweater. It's alive, she replied honestly. Blake Industries always felt like a museum after hours. Dominic smiled. By design. Richard believes intimidation breeds respect. I find it stifles creativity. He gestured toward a glass-walled conference room. Shall we? Inside, he offered her coffee from a carafe before settling across from her. Did you bring the sketches? Olivia hesitated before opening her portfolio. She'd stayed up until 3 a.m., refining her concept of boutique. Hotel lobby, designed to tell a story from entrance to check-in. The layout guided guests through a narrative journey, with seating areas that felt like chapters and lighting that shifted the emotional tone. Dominic studied her work in silence, his expression unreadable. Finally, he looked up. You designed this last night? Yes. It's rough. Obviously, it's remarkable. He turned the sketch toward her. Most designers think about function first, then try to layer in emotion. You've integrated them from the beginning, this circulation path. He traced a curve. On her drawing, creates anticipation through restriction and release. That's instinctive spatial storytelling. The praise warmed her, in unexpected ways. Jonathan had always called her designs cute or clever, diminutive. Compliments that she now realized had subtly undermined her confidence. "There's a learning curve with architectural specifications," Dominic continued, "but that can be taught. What you have, this intuitive understanding of emotional design, can't be." "So the job offer is genuine?" Olivia asked. "Completely." He slid a folder across the table. Your title would be Experiential Design Consultant. Your focus would be conceptual work for our boutique hotel project, the Memoir Collection. Each property tells the story of its location through design. Olivia opened the folder to find an employment contract with a salary nearly double what she made at her boutique. "This is generous. It's market rate for your talent." Dominic leaned forward. "Blake's undervalued you in every way, Olivia. I don't intend to make the same mistake." The directness of his statement caught her off guard. "I appreciate that, but I should be clear I'm not interested in being anyone's revenge project against the Blakes." "Good, because that's not what this is." His eyes held hers steadily. "This is a business decision. Your skills fill a gap in our capabilities. Everything else is secondary." By the end of the meeting, Olivia had signed the contract. Dominic introduced her to the team, including Harriet Cho, the no-nonsense project director who would be her immediate supervisor. "Dominic doesn't bring people in on a whim," Harriet told her during the office tour. "If he sought you out, he sees something worth investing in." "I'm still not entirely sure why," Olivia admitted. Harriet gave her an appraising look. "He probably sees himself in you." Dominic built this company after the architectural establishment rejected him for lacking the right credentials. He has a talent for spotting people with unconventional paths. Over the following weeks, Olivia threw herself into learning the technical aspects of architectural design. She stayed late, absorbing everything from building codes to materials science. Her fashion design business was put on indefinite hiatus, a decision that felt like both an ending and a beginning. The work challenged her in ways she hadn't expected. Her first presentation to the executive team had been nerve-wracking, but Dominic's quiet confidence in her ideas had steadied her. When a senior designer questioned her lack of formal training, Dominic had simply pointed to her concepts and said, "Results matter more than resumes here." As February turned to March, Olivia found herself looking forward to the mornings. Her apartment began filling with architectural books and material samples. The wedding dress sketches were tucked away in a drawer, no longer a daily reminder of what she'd lost. One evening, working late, she looked up to find Dominic in the doorway of her office, 2 containers of takeout in hand. "You've been here since 7 this morning," he said, setting the food on her desk. "Even passion needs fuel. Thank you." She realized suddenly how hungry she was. "Is this from Tanaka's?" "No. You mentioned it was your favorite." He sat across from her, opening his own container. "The hotel in Charleston, your concept, is exactly what we've been trying to articulate." "It just made sense," she said between bites of sushi. "Charleston's history of resilience after natural disasters and war, ... The design should feel like restoration, not just preservation." "The client loved it," Dominic said. "They want you on site for the initial development phase." Olivia nearly choked on her tuna roll. "Me? On site? But I've never. You'll have support." "Harriet will be there for the technical aspects." He watched her carefully. "It's a significant opportunity. Are you ready for it?" The question seemed weighted with meaning beyond the project. Olivia thought about how much had changed in 6 weeks. The pain of Jonathan's betrayal had faded to a dull ache, replaced by the exhilaration of creating spaces that moved people. "I'm ready," she said, surprising herself with her certainty. Dominic's smile was different this time, warmer, reaching his eyes. "I never doubted it." As they ate and discussed the project, Olivia realized something had shifted between them. The formal barrier of boss and employee had softened into something more complex, not quite friendship, but a mutual respect that felt more valuable than anything she'd had with Jonathan. Later, as Dominic walked her to her car in the deserted parking garage, he asked, "Do you regret it? Leaving fashion behind?" Olivia considered the question carefully. "I think I was designing dresses because I couldn't see a path to designing buildings." Some limitations we accept without questioning. And now, she looked up at him, this man who had seen possibility in her when others saw only inadequacy. Now I'm questioning everything, and it feels ... right. Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary. Dominic stepped back first, maintaining a professional distance that Olivia found herself unexpectedly disappointed by. "Good night, Olivia," he said softly. "Good night, Dominic." She got into her car, watching in the rearview mirror as he returned to the building. Something was building between them, something neither had anticipated, something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. But this time, Olivia promised herself she would be careful with her heart. This time, she would ensure she was valued for exactly who she was. Walls of Glass, the Charleston project changed everything. For 6 weeks, Olivia worked alongside Harriet and the construction team, transforming the historic cotton warehouse into the first jewel of the memoir collection. She thrived in the hands-on environment, her confidence growing with each design challenge she conquered. Dominic visited the site twice monthly, his presence both a comfort and a complication. Their professional relationship had developed a rhythm, his strategic vision, complementing her emotional intelligence. But beneath their collaborative success ran an undercurrent neither acknowledged aloud, in the lingering glances over blueprints. The way conversations stretched late into evenings over takeout in the temporary site office, how he'd automatically hand her coffee exactly as she liked it without asking. Small moments of connection that Olivia both treasured and feared. On the final day of her Charleston assignment, Olivia stood in the completed lobby as sunset painted, the space in amber hues. Her design had come to life, the reclaimed wood reception desk telling the story of maritime history. The custom light fixtures echoing the harbor's lanterns, every detail resonating with authentic local narrative. "It's extraordinary." Dominic's voice came from behind her. "Even better than the renderings." Olivia turned, unable to contain her smile. It actually worked. The circulation path, the sightlines people moved through exactly as I hoped they would. Of course it worked. He moved to stand beside her, both of them gazing at the space. "You understand how people experience environments emotionally that can't be taught." The pride in his voice warmed her more than professional satisfaction should allow. She'd grown accustomed to his belief in her a dangerous comfort after Jonathan's betrayal. "The team's heading out for celebration drinks," she said, changing the subject. "Will you join us?" "Actually," Dominic checked his watch, "our flight back isn't until morning. I thought perhaps we could have dinner to discuss your next project." The invitation hung between them, technically professional but weighted with unspoken possibilities. "I'd like that," Olivia replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Dinner at a small local restaurant became a 4-hour conversation that wandered far beyond work. Dominic spoke of his childhood in foster care, how construction jobs had become his path to education. Olivia shared stories of designing her first dress at 12 from her grandmother's curtains. They discovered shared passions for historical architecture and obscure jazz musicians. Walking back to their hotel's separate rooms on separate floors, maintained with careful propriety, Dominic asked the question she'd been dreading. "Have you heard from him?" "From Jonathan?" Olivia tensed. "He calls sometimes. I don't answer." "And the Blakes? Have they reached out since you joined Reyes?" Evelyn sent a message through a mutual friend. Olivia's mouth twisted in a humorless smile. "Apparently I've shown surprising resourcefulness by landing on my feet." Dominic's laugh was sharp. "High praise indeed from the Blake matriarch. Why do you dislike them so much?" Olivia asked. "Right? Beyond the obvious business rivalry?" They'd reached the hotel, but instead of entering, Dominic guided them to a bench in the small courtyard garden. The night air carried the scent of jasmine as he considered his answer. 8 years ago, I pitched Richard Blake on a partnership. I needed capital. He needed innovative design solutions. The meeting went well until he realized I was the same Dominic Reyes who'd once installed drywall in his summer house. He rejected you because you'd been a contractor. Olivia was appalled, but not surprised, not just rejected. He made it clear that certain backgrounds weren't welcome in his rarefied world of deal-making. Dominic's voice remained even, but Olivia saw the tension in his jaw. 2 years later, when my first major project won international recognition, he suddenly wanted to acquire my company. And you refused. Every time. Small, satisfied smile crossed his face. Some things aren't for sale. Olivia studied him in the moonlight, understanding him more clearly. So when you saw what happened at the engagement party, I recognized the pattern. The Blakes discarding someone based on background rather than merit. His eyes met hers. But I also saw an opportunity to gain an exceptional designer. Is that all you saw? The question escaped before she could reconsider its implications. Dominic went still, the professional mask slipping just enough to reveal something vulnerable. Beneath? No, not all. The moment stretched between them, possibility hanging in the air like the jasmine scent. Then Dominic stood, restraint reasserting itself. It's late. Should get some rest before the flight. Back in New York, the company rhythm resumed, but something had shifted. Olivia was promoted to creative director for the memoir collection after Charleston's successful launch. Her confidence blossomed as hotel critics praised the property's soulful authenticity. An emotional journey through design. Through spring and into summer, Olivia and Dominic maintained their professional boundaries with careful precision. Even as their collaborative synergy deepened, the executive team joked about their creative telepathy, how one would often complete the other's thoughts during presentations. Then came the Metropolitan Design Awards in June. Reyes Architectural Solutions was nominated for Innovative Hospitality Design, competing against 4 other firms, including Blake Industries' new hotel division. The night of the gala, Olivia wore a midnight blue gown she'd designed herself years earlier. As she entered the ballroom of the very same Harrington hotel where her engagement had ended, she felt a symmetry to the moment. Here she stood, not as Jonathan Blake's rejected fiancée, but as a respected designer in her own right. Dominic met her near the entrance, his appreciation evident as he took in her appearance. "You look stunning." "Thank you." She noticed how perfectly his tie matched her dressy and unplanned coordination that felt significant somehow. "Ready to win? With you representing our work?" "Absolutely." They made their way through the crowd, Olivia acutely aware of the whispers. Following them, her transformation from fashion designer to architectural innovator had become something of an industry legend. Fueled by the dramatic circumstances of her career change, Olivia. A familiar voice stopped her cold. Jonathan Blake stood before them, handsome as ever in his tuxedo, a crystal flute of champagne in his hand. Beside him stood a willowy blonde woman Olivia recognized as Vanessa Huntington, daughter of a banking magnate. Jonathan. Olivia was surprised by how little she felt. No pain, just a distant recognition of someone who had once been important. "Congratulations on your nomination." "Likewise." His eyes darted between her and Dominic. "I see you've landed on your feet." "More than that," Dominic interjected smoothly, his hand coming to rest lightly at the small of Olivia's back. "She's revolutionizing our approach to experiential design." The possessive gesture wasn't lost on Jonathan, whose smile tightened. "Father will be disappointed we're competing tonight." He'd hoped to discuss acquiring Reyes Solutions again. "Some things aren't for sale," Dominic replied, echoing his words from Charleston. The tension broke when the announcement came for guests to take their seats. As they moved away, Olivia released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Are you all right?" Dominic asked quietly. Strangely, yes. She glanced back at Jonathan, now guiding Vanessa to their table. 6 months ago, that would have devastated me now. It feels like it's watching a movie I've already seen. When the memoir collection was announced as the winner, Olivia found herself blinking back tears of a different kind as she accompanied Dominic to the stage, standing beside him as he credited her vision for the project's success. She felt a certainty she'd never experienced with Jonathan. Later, as they shared a celebratory glass of champagne on the terrace, the same terrace where her engagement had ended, Dominic studied her with unusual intensity. "What?" she asked, self-conscious under his gaze. "I'm just thinking about how different things might have been if the Blakes had valued you properly." He set down his glass. "Their loss has been my greatest gain." The words hung between them, too honest for the careful boundaries they'd maintained. Olivia felt the walls they'd built beginning to crack. "Dominic," she began, uncertain how to navigate this new territory. "We've been so careful about keeping things professional, ... Too careful, perhaps." His voice was low, intimate in the night air. "Olivia. The terrace door opened as colleagues spilled out, congratulating them exuberantly on the wind. The moment dissolved, but the question remained in Dominic's eyes as they were swept back into the celebration. That night, alone in her apartment, Olivia stood at her window overlooking the city lights. The award trophy sat on her coffee table, tangible proof of how far she'd come. Yet her thoughts weren't on professional success, but on the unspoken truth growing between her and Dominic. She was falling in love with him, had been falling for months. But the prospect terrified her, not because she doubted his character, as she had come to doubt Jonathan's, but because loving Dominic would mean trusting again, would mean believing she was truly valued for herself, not as a project or acquisition. As dawn broke over the city, Olivia made a decision. The walls of glass between them, transparent but impenetrable, had served their purpose. She was ready to see what lay beyond them. Whether Dominic felt the same remained the question that kept her awake until morning. Astra's Hearts Reimagined to Lie brought a heat wave and unexpected turbulence. Blake Industries launched an aggressive acquisition attempt of Rhea's Architectural Solutions. Deploying tactics that bordered on corporate hostility, the business media buzzed with speculation about the personal rivalries fueling the conflict. Olivia found herself at the center of a story that had nothing and everything to do with her. The gossip columns resurrected her broken engagement, painting her current position as either calculated revenge or fortunate rebounding, depending on which tabloid one read. Through it all, Dominic remained focused. His calm strategy a counterpoint to Richard Blake's brash maneuvers. The unspoken moment from the awards gala had been buried beneath urgent meetings and legal consultations. On a particularly sweltering Friday, Olivia worked late, finalizing concepts for their newest project in Savannah. The office was nearly empty when Dominic appeared in her doorway, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. "Working late again?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. "Just finishing up the Savannah narrative sequence." She sat back, stretching tired shoulders. "Any updates on the Blake situation?" "That's actually why I'm here." He entered, settling into the chair across from her desk. "Richard called personally. This afternoon, he's requesting a private meeting." "That doesn't sound like him," Olivia remarked. Richard Blake preferred public power plays to private negotiations. "It's not." Dominic's expression was unreadable. "He specifically asked that you attend as well." Olivia went still. "Me? Why would he? I don't know. But I refused, unless you agreed." His eyes met hers. "You're under no obligation to face him." The protective edge in his voice warmed her even as she straightened her spine. "No, I should go. Whatever game he's playing, I won't be the one hiding." Dominic nodded, something like pride crossing his features. "The meeting's set for tomorrow. Neutral territory, the Madison Hotel's private dining room." "Tomorrow? Saturday?" Olivia frowned. He insisted it couldn't wait until Monday. Dominic hesitated. "Olivia, there's something else. Jonathan will be there." The name no longer carried the sting it once had, but Olivia felt her stomach tighten nonetheless. Both Blakes. "This should be interesting." "They don't have to go," Dominic said again. "We can handle this through legal channels." "No." Olivia stood, gathering her resolve. "I want to hear what they have to say." Besides, she attempted a smile. "I've faced worse than uncomfortable meetings." Dominic rose too, closing the distance between them. "You've faced everything with remarkable grace. It's one of the countless things I admire about you." The words hung in the air, intimate in the quiet office. For a moment, Olivia thought he might finally breach the careful distance they'd maintained. Instead, he stepped back. "I'll pick you up at 11 tomorrow," he said, professional demeanor reasserting itself. The Madison Hotel's private dining room exuded old-world luxury. Richard and Jonathan Blake were already seated when the Mater D showed Olivia and Dominic. The tableau felt staged. Father and son on one side of the table, two empty chairs waiting opposite. "Dominic, Miss Winters." Richard rose, extending his hand. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Dominic shook it briefly. Let's skip the pleasantries, Richard. What's this about? They settled into their chairs, an uncomfortable quartet. Jonathan barely met Olivia's eyes, his attention fixed on the water glass before him. Direct as always, Richard smiled thinly. Very well. I've asked you here to propose a resolution to our ... situation. You mean your hostile takeover attempt? Dominic's tone remained even, but Olivia saw the tension in his jaw. A regrettable misunderstanding. Richard waved dismissively. What I'm proposing now is a genuine partnership. Blake Industries and Reyes Solutions merging as equals to create the preeminent architectural firm in the country. Dominic's surprise was evident. Equals. That's not language you've used before. Recent developments have adjusted my perspective. Richard glanced at Jonathan, who shifted uncomfortably. My son has been quite insistent that our approach was misguided. Jonathan finally looked up, his gaze moving between Olivia and Dominic. I've spent the past month reviewing the Charleston project. The work is exceptional. Father needed to understand that acquiring Reyes without maintaining its creative independence would destroy what makes it valuable. Olivia felt oddly detached, as though watching a play about characters she once knew. Jonathan speaking professionally about her work, Richard Blake offering partnerships rather than acquisitions, it was surreal. Why the sudden change of heart? Dominic asked, suspicion evident. Richard sighed, an uncharacteristic display of vulnerability. Frankly, my board is threatening revolt. Our hotel division is floundering while yours thrives. The Charleston property is booking at 98% capacity with premium rates. The industry is talking about experiential design as the future, and you're leading that conversation. Thanks largely to Olivia's vision, Dominic noted pointedly. Richard nodded, turning to her. Precisely. Which brings me to the second purpose of this meeting. He cleared his throat. Ms. Winters, I owe you an apology. The words hung in the air, so unexpected that Olivia briefly wondered if she'd misheard. My assessment of your potential contribution to our family was... Richard paused, seemingly struggling with humility, short-sighted. I underestimated your capabilities and character. For that I apologize. Before Olivia could process this, Jonathan leaned forward. I need to apologize too. Liv. What I did, how I handled everything was unforgivable. I let family expectations override what I knew in my heart. Olivia felt Dominic tense beside her. She kept her voice level. What exactly are you saying? Jonathan glanced at his father, then back to her. I'm saying I made the biggest mistake of my life. When I saw you at the awards ceremony, how you flourished, what you've created, ... Double quotes. He swallowed. I'm asking if there's any chance we could try again. Start over. The silence that followed was deafening. Dominic had gone completely still beside her, his expression carefully neutral. Olivia looked between the three men, suddenly understanding the true purpose of this meeting. The business merger was secondary. This was about personal reclamation. A laugh bubbled up from her chest, surprising even herself. Oh my God, this isn't happening. Jonathan frowned. Liv, I'm serious. I know I hurt you, but no. She cut him off, finding her voice. You don't get to call me Liv anymore. And this, she gestured between them, isn't happening. Not now. Not ever. Ms. Winters, Richard interjected. Perhaps you should consider... I've considered quite enough, Mr. Blake. Olivia straightened in her chair. 6 months ago, you deemed me unworthy of your family name. Now that I've proven commercially valuable, suddenly I'm acceptable? That's not an apology. It's a business assessment. She turned to Jonathan. You stood silent while your parents dismantled our relationship. You returned my ring to your father's hand. Now you want to try again? She shook her head. I'm not a stock option you can buy back when the value increases. Dominic's hand found hers beneath the table, a silent gesture of support that gave her strength. The merger offer, Richard began, clearly trying to salvage the meeting. It's appreciated but declined. Dominic finished firmly. Reyes Solutions remains independent. You're making a mistake, Richard warned. Both of you. Olivia stood, Dominic rising beside her. No, Mr. Blake. For the first time in a long while, I'm absolutely certain I'm not. They left the Blakes sitting in stunned silence. Outside the hotel, summer heat enveloped them as they paused on the sidewalk that was ... Dominic searched for words. Surreal, insulting, oddly vindicating, Olivia offered, still processing. All of the above. He studied her face. Are you all right? I'm better than all right. And she meant it. The meeting had crystallized something she'd been feeling for months. I realized in there that I don't miss him at all. What I mourned wasn't Jonathan himself, but the idea that I was loved for who I am. Dominic's expression softened. And now I understand the difference between being valued as an asset and being valued as a person. She took a deep breath. Dominic, that night, at the gala, before we were interrupted, what were you going to say? He held her gaze, the careful restraint of months finally falling away. I was going to say that I'm in love with you, not your design skills or your professional value to my company. You, your resilience, your compassion, your quiet strength. Right. Words sent warmth flooding through her. Why didn't you say anything before? Because of how we met? Because of the Blakes? Because you were healing? His hand found hers again. I needed you to know your value to the company had nothing to do with my feelings, and I needed to be certain you were ready. And now, Olivia echoed his earlier question. Instead of answering with words, Dominic drew her close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that felt like coming home. Unlike the calculated passion she'd known with Jonathan, this was honest, tender, and electric all at once. When they parted, Olivia smiled up at him. I've been waiting for that since Charleston. Only Charleston? His eyebrow raised teasingly. I've been wanting to do that since you walked out of the Harrington with your head high 6 months ago. They began walking, no particular destination in mind, hands intertwined. The city bustled around them, indifferent to their personal milestone. What happens now? Olivia asked. With the company with us? ... The company continues as planned. The Savannah project moves forward. Blake Industries eventually finds another acquisition target. Dominic's thumb traced circles on her palm. As for us, it depends on what you want. Olivia considered the journey that had brought her here. From heartbreak to professional reinvention to this unexpected second chance at love, the symmetry wasn't lost on her, standing again at a crossroads, but this time with clear eyes and an uncompromised heart. I want to see where this goes, she said simply. No family expectations, no social hierarchies, just us figuring it out together. Dominic smiled, the rare, full smile that transformed his serious features. I think we're already pretty good at building things together. That evening, they sat on the rooftop terrace of Olivia's apartment building, watching the sunset paint the skyline in shades of amber and gold. A bottle of champagne not to celebrate defeating the Blakes, but to toast new beginnings, sat between them. I have something for you, Dominic said, reaching into his pocket. It's not what you might think, he added quickly, seeing her expression. Handed her a small, velvet pouch. Inside, Olivia found not a ring, but a delicate gold key pendant on a chain. It's symbolic, he explained. A key to the first memoir collection hotel. The one you designed. The one that changed everything. Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes as she understood the meaning. Not possession or acquisition, but recognition of what she had built through her own talent. Help me put it on, she asked, turning, so he could fasten the chain around her neck. As the pendant settled against her skin, Olivia felt a sense of completion. The woman who had once been deemed not good enough had found her way to something authentic, career that challenged her, a love that respected her, and a sense of self no one could diminish again. 2 new chapters, Dominic said, raising his glass. 2 stories we write ourselves, Olivia replied, touching her glass to his. Behind them, the city lights began to emerge against the darkening sky. Countless windows illuminating like stars each. One a space where someone's story was unfolding. Olivia leaned against Dominic's shoulder, grateful that her own story had taken an unexpected turn, torn something real, something earned, something true. In the end, being rejected by the Blakes hadn't broken her. It had freed her to discover exactly who she was meant to be and who was meant to love her for it.